Hey, Vin, you sound okay?
Great. Thank you.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
It says something, I can't start my video. The host has disabled it.
Video to,
We can hear him.
I know, Sherry. I'm trying to
Okay,
fix
all right.
that.
Okay.
No worries. No big
Anybody
deal.
else?
let me take a look at something.
Turn it on, then, and see. Oh, yeah, turn it on.
Try it now, John.
You got it?
I hear somebody's got some background noise there.
Boy, this is big. Yeah. Perfect, perfect. That's so perfect. That's
I see
big.
your video now.
That's a good start.
Stacy, you should be able to mute yourself now.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I'm gonna give another 3 minutes. Mrs. Caston, do you want to take a roll call, take some notes?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Thank you. Try it again, John.
Okay, is that good?
Yep.
All righty, I'm in. I like being on the phone. I can be mobile. Move around, get some stuff done.
Multitasking.
Yep.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review the November and December minutes?
Yeah, as best I could. I was on my phone because of the internet problems.
So Mrs. Caston, I had to update November's to separate the executive session so that you can create separate minutes for those. There's
Okay.
a different format for those. So I went ahead and updated it and sent out an updated corrected copy
Uh-huh.
without the executive notes on that. So we can resubmit those.
Okay.
Like we've got some unidentified guests.
As usual. As usual.
You give it one more minute.
Looks like we got a full house though.
Yeah, I got a decent amount of people. Don't see Nazar, but it's okay.
Couple names I don't recognize. Rudy.
It's Jerry's wife. Might be, well, it says Rudy Lobo, so I don't know who Rudy Lobo is. So whoever Rudy Lobo is, I've asked to unmute your mic. Please give me your doc and slip.
Yes, that's 16 5.
Say one more time.
Doc 16.5.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good evening. Let's go ahead and call to order the meeting for January 20th, 2025 for the Wharf at Clear Lake Slip Maintenance Association.
I second it.
Okay, it looks like we have a quorum of the board members present. Names are recorded correctly?
Yes.
John, you should be okay now.
Yeah, I'm just getting used to this phone app. If you flip all the way to the left, it automatically mutes you. Apologize
Okay.
about that.
No problem. Okay, so item 2, looks like we do have a quorum. Okay, item 3, approve the meeting of the minutes from the previous month's board meeting. Earlier, Mrs. Caston sent out November and December. I just sent a corrected November via email. As the board had an opportunity to review those.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I believe I've reviewed those as well.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve those minutes for November and December.
I would second that.
Who was that seconded?
That was me.
Which-
Stacy.
John? Okay.
John. Yes.
Did somebody else just join?
Yeah, Nazar joined.
Okay.
Any opposed to the meeting minutes the way they are? Looks like Bob connection drops. I'm gonna fix his mute. Okay, anybody opposed to approving the minutes for November and December? Okay. Mrs. Caston will say that November and December were approved.
Got it.
Okay, Nathan, item 5A, Treasurer's Report. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, and Kurt, my audio still sounds good, right?
Still sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Here's your treasurer's report. In our board meeting last month, the board promised to publish financial statements. Those statements were published on Facebook on January 11th. The board publishes financial statements because we are committed to transparency. Additional financial statements will be published as soon as we receive them from our bookkeeper and review them. The annual audit will be done soon. Our current financial situation is as follows. On January 17th, 2025, the checking balance is $17,501.59. And the savings balance is $65,006.10. The association remains debt-free with cash savings. Our budgeted income from January 1st to November 30th, 2025 is $141,000. Excuse me, $141,297, and our budgeted expenses are $163,194. The association has enough cash to cover the difference between income and expenses. The board is currently engaged in several legal actions to collect unpaid fees. The board has to pay the legal expenses related to these lawsuits until a judgment is obtained. Once a judgment is obtained and the slips are sold, the board expects a large portion of the legal expenses, which account for a significant portion of the difference between our income as compared to our expenses, will be reimbursed through the collection process. That's all.
All right. Me, 1 second here. I've got to cancel a Windows update. Okay, I'm reading the agenda off my phone, so I see I missed President's report. So for the President's report, I want to report that we did complete the new mailbox station adjacent to the trailer parking lot. The mailboxes themselves will be transferred sometimes this week due to the cold. The mailbox transfer from the postmaster was canceled today, obviously for the weather. So that should get done, we're guessing probably Wednesday or Thursday. I understand from the condos that once the mailboxes are installed, or I should say relocated from the garage, they will be redoing their security for their gates and bathrooms, etc. So that, like, again, should take place, I'm guessing Wednesday or Thursday once we hear back from the postmaster. The other thing that was completed were the trimming of the crepe myrtles out in the parking lot there. The condos had theirs trimmed, and then I went ahead and trimmed the ones for our section of the property, and that was completed about 2 days ago. 2 new cameras were ordered and were tested, and they have been installed. Update on the pilings. Spoke with the piling contractor and
You're in there.
is available to install some new pilings in 2 weeks from now. We've got some identified, as well as Dennis's project, which is on 18B, I believe, and Dock 11. So Dennis will probably talk about it at the end here. He's working on that project. He just turned in a format for the contractors put in bids, and he has suggested replacing those pilings at the same time, since we'll have the docks exposed, which sounds good to me, but I'll let him speak more to that at the end of our meeting. The other items were, I reached out to League City Engineering, and he's got a copy of some surveys that we sent him. And as soon as I hear back from him, we're going to schedule time to meet to find out what the options are on our property out there on the grass area. The other thing was I had contacted the plumber, Ed Koch Plumbing. They came out, I believe it was yesterday, and started shutting off the water mains. And he is expected to return water services on Wednesday after the freeze. So we proactively sent out notices to everybody, and I physically went down to the docks today, especially the liveaboard side, and spread the word that the water will be turned back on Wednesday. We did this last year with the contractor, and it worked very well. So there were minor damages. The only damages that may happen, that he expects that may happen, could be just a few occasional water spigots. We do have some spare parts I found in our storage for 3/4 inch PVC as backup, and we've got plenty of 2.5 inch pipes for any main PVC breakages for 2.5 inch. And that's all I have for the president's report. Moving to item.
Hey, Kurt, I just want to say you did a lot of work working on that mailbox, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I also got some help from the condos, and
Yeah,
Donato,
Donato's on here, and we want to express our appreciation to the condo board for helping out too. It was a group effort, and it turned out great. Everybody did a great job. Appreciate it.
yeah, went fairly smooth, so much appreciated.
Lot of work.
Absolutely. There was a couple other things. One of the things I wanted to mention is I did some testing with installing these missing bolts on some of these finger piers. So I completed one finger pier that now has the bolts going through it. Also began testing on one finger pier on dock 12-14. So we started taking measurements and started gathering data for the new device that we ordered to test the finger piers. So of course, because of the weather, that work is suspended for now, but the work has started. So that's the only other two things for the president's report I wanted to add it real quick. Item 6A. So that's piers, docks, dock 11 and 18B. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute Mr. Pelletier and let him take the floor.
Okay, I just got myself unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I just sent out about a half an hour before the meeting, so I don't expect anybody to have read it yet, but a request for quotation that lays out the parameters, the construction standards for rebuilding both of Dock 11 and 18B. And that's important so that the contractors that you've got bidding, you know, they're all bidding on the same type of work. And it also calls for the marina to supply all the materials, so we don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about it, and we don't have to worry about it. We'll put together a material list, and once we've selected a contractor, we'll order the materials, and of course, the board will approve that. They'll approve the contract before we sign it, and probably it'll be Kurt that signs it based on board approval. And also the material order will get signed off on by the board. But we're moving along. I think I have, between what Kurt's given me, 3 contractors I can go out to. I also intend to reach out to some of the people that have either done work or quoted for us in the past and have come to us with high recommendations, and for whatever reason didn't get the job last time. Either were too busy to quote or were higher than others. And also there's a commercial establishment down just past Jackie's on Marina Bay Drive that talks about building marine docks, and we've never used them or reached out to them before, but probably wouldn't hurt to ask them for their quotation if they're interested. So that's where we stand. 2 questions that relate to other things. One is the pilings, and it certainly doesn't make sense to tear apart the docks and not replace any pilings that may be needed. So I would urge the board to make sure the pilings on dock 11 and dock 18 are tested so that we know of any that need to be replaced and can coordinate the replacement with the building of the docks. Any contractor isn't going to want to be held up by somebody else. They're going to want to come in and say, okay, you've given me 50 or 100 feet of this dock to do, and I'm going to start on such and such a date. I want to make sure the material's there and everything's a go, so I can get my crew in there and out of there. That's the way they make money. So we should make sure we're ready to handle that. The other thing that causes me some trepidation, when I was on the board, our cash checking account rarely got below $40,000. And just before a construction project, it was generally close to 60,000. Now that's the checking account, which let us know that we could pay for the project $20,000 to $30,000 without any stretch. Right now, we don't have enough in the checking account to do that. And I'm surprised. I'm guessing, I haven't looked at the financials that were put out in the Facebook, but I'm guessing there's a significant amount of legal fees that are outstanding that we anticipate recouping, but 17,000 is the least I've ever seen in the checking account over the past 5 years.
Yeah, Dennis, one thing you have to note too is I think we're at the end of a billing cycle. So typically we pick up 12,000 at the end of the month, but yeah, you're right. It is low. You know, it is we've got, well, we've got a couple, as you know, that are very contentious, but they're drawing to an end here pretty shortly. And then we have one or two that are pretty much unopposed, and those are going to go through with a fairly minor cost. I think $4,000 or $5,000 on each of those, and those will be sold off. Of course, the excess will go back to whoever claims it, you know, so that'll come back to the coffers. I don't think that anybody really has opposed those. So yeah, there is some outstanding that should come back. But yeah, it is low. I agree. Yeah, it's unfortunate the way it's been approached by certain individuals, but that's the way they've chose to show their appreciation for the marina.
Well, my concern is, you know, when I deal with these contractors, I'm putting my name and my reputation on the line. And I won't hire anybody unless I have a personal assurance myself. I'm assured to my own satisfaction that the marina has the money to pay the people. And generally what they're gonna want is they're gonna want completion of work payments. So the way I've done it in the past is after at the end of every week, we go out, walk the dock, see how much they finished and pay them for that portion of it. So it doesn't make any sense to start something if we're not convinced that we have the money to pay for it. And 17,000, that's, you know, I think when you first got on the board, John, you recommended that we not keep any more than 25,000 because anything more than that was just unneeded. But 17's getting down to the point where, you know, a minor emergency could eat that up pretty quickly.
I agree. As we speak, I just actually came across the final default judgment motion for one of those, the unopposed one. So that will be going in shortly, and I don't expect that that'll be opposed. So that will, of course, that even from where it is now, that'll take a month before we would see any recoup there. And
how
like I
much
said,
how much would that recoup
Hey,
be?
hold on a second.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in here as treasurer real quick? So I think I
Go
can
ahead.
help out here. So I just want to draw attention, Dennis. I think you're bringing up really great points. And I think that the project you outlined by getting the pylons done right, I think everybody loves to hear that. And I just want to point out in the treasurer's report that I just said, we have actually $65,000 in savings. And I'm sure that if we put a project up for the board and we vote for it, I'm sure we will have ample means to pay for it. So I fully appreciate what you're saying, Dennis, that our checking balance is low. I did read that balance a few minutes ago as $17,501.59. But we also read the savings balance as $65,006.10. And I'm sure once we get a project up for the board, we'll all vote for it.
Well, yeah, I mentioned that's the lowest I've seen it in 5 years. And the savings balance has always been above 60,000. We've never had to dip into it in the past. And that's really kind of a reserve for unusual things. Can you give me some broad strokes as to why it's basically 25,000 less than what it normally runs? That's a lot of money. And our
as I
expenses
just
have actually dropped somewhat.
basically, I would just rehash what I just said and what John said, that we're engaged in a lot of legal actions to collect unpaid fees. And as John said, it's very unfortunate. And we will be publishing a lot of details, a lot of transparency on this. It will be hitting Facebook again. We'll have more financial statements up there for you soon.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll move forward. I just want, I want to be assured that we have the wherewithal to follow through with any commitments. I've just had a very unpleasant dealing with a marina down in Shelter Bay, and it's my third time through, and you would have thought I would have learned the first time, but they make agreements and then they back out of them at the last minute. And fortunately, it hasn't cost me any money for the last 2 agreements they've backed out of, but I don't want to be that kind of person.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, item 6B, infraction by owners and their tenants, bill down, pictures, etc. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead and open the floor to Nazar. Nazar, you're already unmuted. Can you fill us in on the status of your report for the infractions? Nazar?
We
Hello?
can't hear you, Nazar, if you're talking.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear him now.
Okay,
Yeah, can
what
you give
happened?
a report on the infractions?
Yeah, that me and you, we walked the marina and we took pictures. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
Right. And then we needed an email address to send out the pictures. And then we haven't got together to go to write down the infractions and send them out yet.
Okay, we've had a few weeks here. You can contact me anytime, or Bob, I guess, to write the letters. Do you have a list?
Do I have a list?
Yeah, a list of the docks and slips and the infractions.
Yeah, me and you, per the term, we both walked the marina.
Right. But did you put a list together is my question.
You were supposed to put the list together.
Okay. This first I'm aware of it, but I will go ahead and move forward with that. I was waiting on you. Okay, well, I'll revisit that then. Next item is sub item B, 6B, which is squatting boats. I just wanted to let people know that we do have some squatted boats out there still in the marina. Couple of the owners have been notified, and there is a program that I saw on Channel 13 where they're now, there's a program somewhere in Galveston where they will take boats larger than 30 feet. So for those people that have boats that have the ability to have boats scrapped, there is a program out there for that, and they can check Channel 13.
Does anybody know anything about the Dead Boat Society?
I've heard about it. I believe there's a group of people around Clear Lake that have put together that organization to handle a lot of the boats that were sitting out in the middle of Clear Lake. I know there's a scrap or a damaged boat that sunk off of Clear Lake Park. So there was a person who told me about that organization, and apparently they're trying to raise funds to clean up a lot of these junk boats that are out there. But there
They
have
have
been
a-
a couple other programs out there that came up recently, and one of them's the one on Channel 13. Go ahead, Mrs. Gaston.
They have a Facebook page. You can go in and look at it and see if they're supposed to be having a meeting of some kind. I think the Dead Boat Society, to try and get some more awareness of it.
Yeah, it seems to me like they mostly go around the lake and deal with like boats that have been abandoned, you know, out in the waterways, but they must have come up with some kind of program to figure out where to put them. Maybe we could get some ideas from them. That's all I was thinking.
Yeah, it looks like Christian Allen has some information, so at the end of our meeting, he can chime in and let us know what he knows about that program.
They seem to be very active.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's good for the environment. It cleans up a lot of these junk boats. Okay, item 6C, gate status. So we went ahead and activated the gate for the liveaboard side, and that's just for Dennis's information. That could be a little bit of the cost for this year was security cost. I think that was around 7,000, which was a lot cheaper than the first contractor, but the gate had a couple little issues. One of them was the secondary cards that were issued to people. Those cards were not working properly. And the contractor told me that they need to order a device for us. It's on order that will allow us to program cards. He was going to program them for us, but at the same time, there was an issue with Comcast, lost connection, so he had to reconfigure the devices. So as soon as I found out that information, I went ahead and disconnected the gate until the contractor gets these issues resolved, and everybody's cards are working properly. Not a lot of people, but a few people had paid $30 for their secondary cards, and as soon as I found out those were not working, I went ahead and unlocked that gate to give people an opportunity to, get through the gate until we get all the cards working 100%. Obviously, it
So
wasn't
it's
fair to people.
So it's not active completely?
No, it's been deactivated. I thought you sent the message out for a couple weeks now.
Okay, I was just doing notes.
Yeah, so yeah, until they get that device in to program the secondary cards, the gate's gonna be open. Let's see, item 60, fire valves, firebox 1. So the fire valves were checked, I know, by the contractor, and he said that the few leaks that we have fixed themselves. He felt like it was just debris that needed to be cleared out. So there's going to be no charges there. He's working on firebox number 1. It's got a coupler that needs to be replaced. Same thing. And then the main valve, I just got a report today that he had ordered a kit. There's a leak in the main valve out in the parking lot that was kind of dripping out there, and it's getting worse with time. He was waiting for that kit to come in, and then he informed me yesterday that that whole valve is going to have to be replaced. So he's going to be sending us a quote to get that main valve replaced and repaired. We've had a lot of valves repaired over the last year or two, but this one's the main one. So once we get that quote, we'll see what that's going to cost us and go from there. Let's see. Piers and bolts. Yeah, I already gave a report on the piers that were missing bolts. That started. It's just on hold due to weather right now. We're going to go ahead and move into new business. Item 7A. I'm going to check with Bob, but I think we were going to have our DCCRs kind of reviewed, but that may be on hold right now. I'm not sure what the status is. Bob, you should be unmuted.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So I don't have any, nothing has changed since the last meeting on updating the DCCRs.
Okay, yeah, we probably need to check with them then to get a review and find out what that is going to involve with costs and everything else and get quotes. So I'll put in a note that we need to reach out and contact them, get a status update. Item 7B, basically the two items I believe that we were looking at for this month were the dirty boats and build downs that were in bad shape. So I'll get with Nazar on the pictures or just rewalk the docks again and give us an updated report on that. And then once we have that information, we'll give the people 30 days to appeal. And then after 30 days, we can, fine for the infractions. After we do that, then I guess we can move to the next set of infractions for next month. And we'll just go through all the rules according to whatever priority we think they need to be arranged in, and then any old rules that we need to adjust or remove or update, we can do that at that time. So for now, we'll just go through the main priority requests from people for these rules. And then as a board, we can discuss them and go through and then fine as needed. So,
so there was a lot of, the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion about how we were going to decide what boat was dirty and not what wasn't, and how we were going to, address specifically like board members so that we made sure that board members were kept honest, and we come to any conclusions? I don't really recall.
Yeah, so once Nazar's got all the pictures, once we compile that list, I'll get with Nazar. Nazar, are you going to be available the next week or two to get that done?
Yep.
Okay. But once we compile that list, I mean, all the board members can look at these pictures and kind of determine. I did look at some old notes and basically we were just looking at the cleanliness of the boats. I know one of the criteria that we all had discussed at one time was whether or not there was any green algae or mold growing on the boats. That would be kind of one of the factors, but you know, once we've got those pictures and reports put together here in the next week or two, I think as a board, we can all take a look at these. And then if we want to have people from the other members outside the board chime in on that, then, you know, we may want to consider something like that for what the criteria will be. But again, once we get that report and the pictures together, I guess we can go over those.
I would just, personally, I would suggest that any board member whose vote is being evaluated, that board member can't participate, and that there be a designated third party, maybe even like Dennis or something, and he sits in on just the board members for transparency, and he helps decide whether a board member's vote is dirty or not. That would be my suggestion.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. That way the community knows that it's being done transparently for the board members, and specifically the board member that is being judged doesn't have any influence on the process, just like any particular boat owner doesn't have any influence on the process. You know, it seems fair to me.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. When we get those pictures, when we get these new rules listed out and submitted to the board for these last two that we just discussed, then that'd be a great time to implement that. We can ask for volunteers. Anybody got any other ideas on the board? That sounds good to me. Okay, item 7C, water leak. I just went over that. That was the main valve, so we'll have to wait for the quote on that one. 7D, again, Dave Martin volunteered to go out and read the meters. So again, want to thank him for volunteering to read the meters. If anybody else out there would like to volunteer to read those meters, we'd sure appreciate it. We can show you how to do that. And the more people that volunteer to do that, I think the better it'd be for everybody. If there's two people, it may speed up the process. So again, anybody volunteers, we always appreciate people volunteering. Item 7E, this is one that I believe Christian brought up, and he had mentioned that there was a person who claimed that their dock wasn't built properly. However, the damage was actually caused from low tide. A lot of people are not adjusting their lines during low tide. So what happens is the weight of the boat sits on that finger pier, which is causing damage to the finger piers. So it was suggested maybe we come up with a new rule. So that way, if there is damage to finger piers out there due to people's boats and lines not being adjusted, that the person pay for that damage. So something to think about for the future here, maybe for the next meeting or to discuss in an executive session. But it is an issue where people just leave their boats, they never check them, and then we put out information. Some of these people live out of state, or it's their tenants just running a slip. So it is causing damage to our finger piers. So going forward, it may be a good idea to implement some kind of a rule to address that issue. So that's food for thought and discussion. Item 7F, had been having to adjust the timer for the lights on all the docks. It's an old-fashioned mechanical timer. It's got the little screw on there that you set your days and times, and periodically it has to be adjusted. So it was reported there were issues with the light. I went out and readjusted the timer. The slide may be worn out at this point, so I'll let somebody else check it. We may want to replace it. It's been out there for quite a while, or maybe go to a different system that's a little more modern, updated, maybe hopefully cheaper, and look at options for that. But I know over time, last couple of years, we've had a lot of people report that the lights weren't working properly and end up being that screw coming loose on there. So it may be cheaper just to replace the mechanical device, but we can look at options for that. It's just something that was brought to our attention. Again, we do have the contractor to replace the pilings on standby. He's potentially, and I don't know if Dennis heard this, but he is available 2 weeks from now, so the end of this month. We've got about 3 pilings besides 18A and 11 that need immediate repairs. One of those pilings is on 18A. I met with Brian Hebert, and what I discovered was there was actually a court hearing at one time in 2004, it looks like, where the people that own the slips on the other side of the marina had gone to court, and because the marina didn't have the money to pay for the maintenance on that side, it was agreed that the marina was going to take possession of the docks from about 18A. And now it says slip number 1, and they gave 3 or 4 exhibits of maps of what were supposed to be some piers installed between 12, 13, and 16 and 17. And then opposite of that, there were several docks that were supposed to be built. So we looked at the maps and the tax maps, and we kind of split the difference, looking at what the exhibit was showed, and spoke to a person who knew the history, and we figured out where that boundary was. So it kind of looks like there was a dock 1 at one time that was to the left of 18A. And so we looked at the signage and the way the electricity was going, and we kind of concluded a boundary out there to where that's at. So I'd like to get some other board members to look at that exhibit, and I think I submitted to some of you the documentation that Brian Aber submitted from that court proceeding that gives the exhibits of where that property line lies. And I just want to get some other opinions to make sure that we all agree where that property line is. His contractor accidentally repaired some of our dock boards, and in the process they discovered a collapsing section, so they went ahead and shorted up. They're waiting to hear back from us on going forward with replacing that piling. And so it's pretty critical. It's a safety issue. So I'm recommending to the board that we put that high priority on the list as one of the pilings to be replaced because it is a safety issue. And so if anybody's available on the board to meet with me to take a look at that, just to verify what I'm seeing, would be much appreciated. Trying to get through my phone here. I got small print. Oh, okay. Yeah, so the next 2 items I'm gonna give to Bob to review. One of them was to hire an electrician for one of the meters that we have. Well, we don't know what that meter's feeding. We think part of it, well, we know some of it at least, was probably feeding the condominiums. So I'm gonna let Bob talk about that electric, but I'd like for Ms. Caston to kind of reach out and see if she could contact the electrician I think we had on our list and start getting a quotes for that, to have somebody come out and look at these circuits and kind of determine what that meter is feeding. The other thing I think Bob's going to address is the billing for the bathrooms for the condos and maybe some other items. So Bob, you should be unmuted if you want to chime in on that.
Okay, so of the electric meters that we have, that we pay for, there's one in particular that runs about $1,200 a month. So we don't know exactly what items are being fed off that. And so what we'd like to do is hire an electrician to take a look at it and make sure that everything that's running through it is ours. And number 2, maybe be able to make some recommendations to us about how we could reduce that bill. So that's kind of the first one. And the second one is that as a result of the reciprocal agreement being canceled, we had the meter for the bathrooms and the laundry room was under our account, and we were paying on it. And we discussed with the condos, and the condos wanted that meter transferred to them. So we are in the process of effectuating that transfer.
It's for the laundry room or the bathroom?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, well, that concludes the business portion of our meeting, so.
Well, Bob, wasn't there a discussion that we had to have about the open area also? Or no?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was, if you wanted to have that here or in executive council. Maybe we'll have that in executive.
Yeah, I thought that was executive.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, is there anything else from any of the board members? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion then, and we conclude the business portion of the meeting, and then open up for 3 minutes per member for questions. So I'll make a motion to conclude the business portion of the meeting.
Second.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
Okay, that concludes the business portion of the meeting. We're gonna go ahead and open up for questions. As usual, raise your hand and you get approximately 3 minutes. If it, drags on too long, then we'll have to make sure that we stick to the 3 minutes strictly, or more strictly, I should say. So I'm gonna go ahead. Looks like Dennis is raising it. Now, Dennis, can you do me a favor and check to see if there's a way for you to raise your hand using the Zoom at the bottom there? Let me unmute you, Dennis. Okay, yeah, it's worked. I just wanted to verify. So that did work. Go ahead and you should be unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, let me think what I was going. Oh yeah, you mentioned that there were some squatters in the marina. And I was kind of disappointed to hear that because I put a lot of effort into putting chains up on vacant slips. Can you tell me what slips, or tell us what slips have squatters in them?
Yeah, approximately. There are 2 slips on dock 21, and these 2 boats are, I don't know if you remember James. Trying to remember his last name right now, top of my head. But anyways, he had like 3 or 4 boats in the marina. One of them I know was recently purchased over on 18A. It's a blue sailboat out there. The gentleman somehow got a hold and purchased that boat with the title, but the other 2 that are on dock 21, one of the owners I know for sure was contacted. They walked with us met us at Leak City Police, and they were given the procedure to have the boats evicted out of the slips, but they haven't taken any action. That happened prior to you putting the chains up. Okay. So these are a couple of leftover boats. So your chains are definitely were helpful and effective. It's just we have 2 leftover boats that are still sitting there. We have to reach out to the owners and have some kind of action. Otherwise, we're going to start finding them.
Those are left over from James, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Does anybody know if James is still in jail, and Garrett, is he still in jail?
As far as we know.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
Yep, things have been a lot quieter down at the marina, a lot, just nicer overall. So looks like Tim, I'm gonna Dennis, did you have anything else? I'm sorry.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Tim, I'm gonna unmute your mic there. Christian, you're next. You should be able to unmute your mic now, Tim.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
Great. Yeah, I missed the last few meetings. I was just curious about the Dock 11 and 18B work. Is 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 that finger pier work or piling work or a combination?
It's actually dock work that was identified in the past. There's a section on 18B that's sagging. The runners, I guess what they're calling them, are starting to sag and they're pretty bad shape. And then there was another portion that was pointed out on dock 11. Same situation where we replaced the actual deck boards, but the runners that they're attached to are in pretty bad shape and they're sagging. So those were the
Yeah, I was
two
just,
hot.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I wasn't sure if it was the whole dock or if it was just very specific parts of the dock. So
it's specific portions of the dock, a certain amount of footage. Dennis has got measurements on that, so
gotcha.
he's got a great idea, which made sense. Is we'll add that to the list when we start replacing pilings. It makes sense to do it then while
Good.
the deck is exposed or the docks are exposed. So on top of the three that we have and the testing we're going to be doing, those would be the first on the priority list since they'll be exposed and it's the right time to do it to save money.
Okay, thanks. And then
Or no problem.
yeah, on the other thing you were mentioning that we might be able to recoup some money during slip collection process. Do we know what, did I hear that right? Did I?
Correct. So when people don't pay their assessments after a certain amount of time, the marina can put a lien on that property. So once the liens are completed, then the properties get auctioned off and then the marina gets to recoup some of that cost.
Gotcha. Okay, so there'll be auction. We think that's the route we'll go.
Yes, they legally have to be auctioned off to the public.
Okay, all right. All right, thanks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to thank Tim. He helped with the crepe myrtles, the branches and things the other day, and I was out there working on them, and he was more than happy and eager to help me remove these branches. And so apparently, there's a much better view, I understand, from the condos now to see the waterfront, which
Right. It's kind of self-serving, so I'm not gonna I'm not so
well, still appreciate it either way.
yeah, appreciate y'all doing it. So all right, that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you for chiming in, Tim. I'm gonna move to Christian now. Where are you at, Christian? I see your hands. There you are.
All right, y'all can hear me now?
Yep.
All right. As far as electrical meters go, I suggest you get with Jimmy Schlomack because I know that years ago they paid an electrician and did a lot of that legwork to figure out what was ours and what belonged to the condos. So that may save you a little bit on that. Item number 2, and I know y'all don't know exact figures, and that's fine. But according to the P&L for January through October, $49,000 was spent on legal fees. So if you average that out, it's $4,900 a month. So if you add in November and December, that should make it around $59,000, $60,000 for the year. Approximately how much of that will get recouped?
Well, I'll tell you, Christian, that the individuals that is going against will be responsible for all of it. So how much is recouped? The slips will be auctioned and that will go towards paying for the legal fees, and then whatever is left over, the individual is still responsible for. So liens can be placed on their personal property, you know, and whatever, you know, and that can be followed through with collection agencies, and it'll follow them for the rest of their lives until it's paid off. So, you know, it's and as their strategy becomes to increase that bill, it ultimately it'll just be something that follows them as a bill for the rest of their life. But you know, it's the value of the slips. I mean, you're talking about right now, the bulk of that money is being spent against 3 slips. You know, maybe $25,000 to $30,000 in value. So you can do the math. So You know, the alternative also, Christian, that you have to recognize is the individual involved simply refuse to pay assessments. So
Let's not talk about legal stuff with somebody who's not involved with the legal process that we're going through. We could just, say numbers, but let's not,
well, I'm not
talk
talking
about it.
specifics, and I'm not giving names, but I mean, anything I'm saying right now, you can go to the county website and pull off of the website. So,
Right. My big concern was just having too much out there. And it's great that long term, yes, it will follow them around, but it doesn't help in the short term. So I was more concerned about spending too much on the front end and then it taking 20 years to receive it on the back end. Because I know that from my time on the board, your operating budget, you get about 120 to 130 a year. About half of that is operating budget, and the other half is supposed to go to maintenance. Well, if we've already spent $60,000 on maintenance, I mean,
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I just gotta, let's use exact correct figures here, okay? The figure that you stated for the January to October was pretty close, but the exact figure is $46,416.73. And we have not yet released November and December, but we will as soon as we have that from our bookkeeper and have reviewed it. Okay, I just want to be really clear about that. Okay, I don't want people going off on a number that is not correct. Okay.
I understand. I ballparked averaged it out over the month and then included the last 2 months. My only concern on that was, like I said, I know how much slips sell for out here, and even if you sold all 3 slips and you got maximum amount of money, you're still only looking right now at less than half. And my concern is that maintenance is getting pushed aside for the benefit of going after people. And don't get me wrong, y'all absolutely need to go after people, otherwise everybody could do it. I get it.
that's exactly the predicament we're in. We either go after people that don't pay or we don't. That's the only 2 choices we have. And we have to go after people that don't pay. End of discussion,
Okay.
And unfortunately, some of those people decide to approach it in the manner that they are.
And I would also add,
I
nobody likes that number. Nobody likes it.
All right.
But
Well, moving on to the next thing, as far as the boats, Texas Parks and Wildlife does have a program, but you have to be pre-approved and they have to be brought in on a trailer. So that doesn't help the squatting boats. But what does help the squatting boats is anybody, you, me, anybody can climb on board, get the whole identification numbers and get a bonded title for it and basically sell it for the same amount of money you get tied up in getting the bonded title. They'll list it on Parks and Wildlife website for 60 days. And since James is in jail, nobody can lay claim to it. And you'd have a new owner who can then move it out of there. That's an option for the slip owners.
Absolutely, and that was brought up before by Mrs. Caston. And we put that information out to a couple of these owners. And unfortunately, the owners have chosen not to take action. So we're gonna discuss it, and these people will probably get a 30-day notice to take some kind of action against the people squatting in their slips. Otherwise, they're gonna start getting fined for not taking action at all. So it's something we're discussing.
Okay, and years ago, previous boards were going to come up with an email for listing maintenance concerns so that we don't have to tie up meetings like I'm doing right now. Like we have 2 lights out in a row on dock 22. They're the ones at slip 3 and at slip 5. So it's completely dark from the main walkway all the way up to you hit the motion detector on my boat. I mean, it's completely black. So do we still have a method for reporting maintenance issues like that?
Not online. You can call the Marina phone number, and I've mentioned this before. And then once the board's aware of it, we can discuss it or try and get it repaired. I've had several people promise to make us websites and they've haven't come through. I understand websites now are pretty easy to make though, with the AI technology and everything else. It's something that's on the list. A lot of that got curtailed back a year and a half ago when a certain individual was going to create one for us, but then things went off the rails. So it's, there's a story behind that, but if we want to do a website, yeah, if we want to do another website, we could do that. It's just one thing to add to the list. Right now we're using Facebook as our website. So that's to save money. That's kind of what we're doing for now, but there are some individuals who like to abuse their privileges on Facebook, but it would still be kind of nice to have a basic website, in my opinion. Just
I think
takes
it's a lot easier.
somebody on the board or somebody we can trust to create us a secure website.
They've gotten a lot easier. My 17-year-old son is making them on his own now.
Yeah,
And-
it takes about 3 minutes with AI now. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
My final question is, who's responsible for the maintenance of the new walkway with us moving to the outside of the condos instead of cutting through the parking lot?
Hey, this is a long 3 minutes. I want to kind of condense this a little bit.
Yeah, we're getting there. So that actually belongs to the condos. However, the condos, we're looking at their tax map and it kind of shows it belonging to the marina, but we found in the past that the tax map is not accurate for one, and number two, even where we think it is, there are sometimes documentation and agreements that were made in the past that we were not aware of. So we're actually researching that right now, and the condos are getting a survey for their portion. And once, you know, we see what they've got for their survey, we may or may not want to spend money to get a survey for ourselves. There's a lot of gray area that we found, but it would depend on the cost to do that, because I understand that's pretty expensive. So if the condos do their own survey, we can kind of bounce that off of the tax map and then see how accurate it is, or if it's worth pursuing, getting our own survey.
Okay. That's it. It's in bad shape. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, well, they're working on it. If you notice, they got lumber out there. It's just, I think they probably have it on hold until they verify the survey.
Right. That makes sense. All right.
And
Thank
that's
you.
Yep, that's it. That concludes our meeting. We're gonna go into executive session unless. No, I don't see any other hands up. So yeah, I'm gonna make a motion then to end the meeting, and then everybody have a happy new year. And we'll keep you appraised of any new developments.
Thanks, guys.